Um, okay. All right, I'm going to call tonight's City Council meeting to order. It is approximately 7:13. It is Tuesday, September the 22nd, and we are meeting via Zoom. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Chairman Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Carl.
Here.
Councilmember Waldman.
Here.
Councilmember Weil.
She is absent at the moment.
Okay. Mayor.
Here. Before we get started, I would like to just say a quick message, if I may. So, where's my notes? Okay. So a few weeks ago, I recorded an interview with Mrs. Kruger's third grade teacher. She's a third grade teacher at Old Bonham School, and her class was learning about government. And I discussed the various aspects of being a mayor, and specifically what I do, what I like about being a mayor, and why I became involved in government. And I extended an invitation to her class to connect with us tonight on Zoom and to listen to tonight's meeting via Zoom. So tonight I am very pleased to have with us from the third grade class, Ilana Moons, Clara Dahl, Eleanor Douglas, and Lily. Where are you, Lily? And Lily. I'm sorry, Lily, I cannot find you as in your last name, but so I apologize. But these students have joined us tonight, so they are here to see what government is and how we work. And I'm very excited to have them here. I hope that you all learned something from tonight's meeting. And if you do leave here and you have any questions for me, please have Mrs. Kruger reach out and I'll be happy to answer them for you. So welcome. We're really excited to have you here tonight. So with
And
that,
there's a note that Sophie and Talila have joined, so check that and read that too, Mayor.
okay, great. If the clerk would give us the next item.
Item number 2, communications. Mayor, we have 2 thank you notes that were sent to the fire department. Would you like me to read them?
Yes, please.
Okay, this one is from the Eastern Douglas County Volunteer Fire Department, where our firefighters donated some equipment. Dear Chief Carmen and Council, it is with much gratitude we express our sincere thanks for the donation of the JAWS units and hose. Being a small rural department, these are items we can't afford. Thank you for blessing us, the family of the Eastern Douglas County Volunteer Fire Department. The other is a thank you note from, and pardon me if I mispronounce this, Ann Truskowski. And Ann writes, just wanted to let you know how much you're appreciated each and every day. And then she sent them a gift card.
Oh, that was nice. Thank you. Thank you to all of them for those notes. Next item.
Item number 3, City Manager's Report.
Hello.
Hello.
For those of you watching, this is going to be the best part of the evening.
Can I just say one thing? I'm fairly certain I've missed a good number of you, so I'm welcoming all of you, and I apologize if I didn't call you out by name, but I am glad you are here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. All right. Okay, so we continue to make progress on the park and community center improvements. For those who may not know, the residents in June passed, they voted, and there was a number of people, the majority of people voted to put money aside, about $16.2 million from a bond, to do improvements in our parks, all 5 of our parks, and to build a new community center. And I'm not sure if everybody's been to the old community center, but it's an old school and it's getting a little bit run down. So this is what the new community center is going to look like. We will have, we're going to have, this is going to be kind of rooms where we can have parties or and things. We're going to have a kitchen. We're going to have a big full gym with basketball and volleyball, a fitness center that will have weights and cardio equipment, and an aerobic center where we can do aerobics and yoga, a changing area, offices, and this is going to be the indoor playground, which is going to be super cool for anybody on the call who has been to the Magic House. It's not exactly like the Magic House, but the Magic House has some of these indoor play structures that you can play with, so it's really fun. And then this is kind of just a blow up picture of what that looks like. And you can see here, this is going to be a big climbing thing. The ceilings are going to be really tall. So it's going to be really fun. These are some elevations, and an elevation means that you're just kind of looking at a building, what it's going to look like if you were standing in front of it. And this is that indoor play area. And Darren, if you could help me, the height of this at the low part is 16 feet. And then how
the high
tall
part
is
is
it?
27.
Whoa, it's really high. It's going to be really fun. I like having kids on the call. It's more fun. And then this is where the fitness center is going to be. And this is how you walk in. This is the door where you're going to enter the building. And so that's what that indoor play area is going to look like. And these are the multi-purpose rooms. And then the back here is the big gym. So we're really excited, and we'll have probably a few more pictures later, maybe at the end of the meeting. But I'm having a little bit of trouble finding the most recent elevations that we looked at today. And that's a hint for Darren and Beverly, who are both on to help me. Dealman Road, phase 2, we're doing construction work. We're redoing this whole road. And we're making the road wider so that there's a little more room for cars. And we're also making the sidewalks are going to be a little bit wider here too. And so right now what they're doing is they're digging up kind of the road to make it wider. And then they're putting in this retaining wall, or this wall made of kind of concrete blocks. We will have Dealman Road closed starting September 28th. That's next Monday. And so with that, that's going to be closed to traffic in both directions. Kind of really close to that, to the bridge now. And that's because they're going to start working on the bridge. And we expect it'll probably be closed for 4 to 6 weeks. And if you go on our website or Facebook or Instagram, you will see kind of alternative routes that you can take to get around that area. But we think that by closing it to all traffic, they'll be able to work a little faster and get it done a little faster. The firefighters responded to, they had to a car accident, and this is the car, it's upside down here, and then you can see it, it hit a big telephone pole or electric pole, or telephone, I guess. And the person driving was trapped inside, so the firefighters came and they got him out. They had to cut him out, so that was kind of exciting. But everybody was okay, and he did go to the hospital, but he was okay.
Not for the guy it happened to.
Yeah. We have a lot of new businesses that are going to be starting. Taikei Shabu is looking for an occupancy, they've had an initial occupancy inspection for a new restaurant. They're going to be actually where Lulu's was at Olivet Center. Taikei Shabu is currently located in U City, but they're one of the buildings that's under contract, and so they're looking for a new place to be. 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. They are looking for submitted an occupancy and license information for also another section of the Olivet Center. And 314 is the area code for the St. Louis area. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of Cardinals stuff in this place. Then we talk about some of the areas that we have some business occupancies that have been granted, kind of read through that. One Sleepy Hollow, we continue to have stormwater issues there, or water issues there. The backyard at One Sleepy Hollow is really almost a marsh. And we've continued to bring in experts to help us figure out what's going on, and hopefully we'll know something within the next couple of weeks. And then this picture here, this is the Lindley Sanitary Relief Line, and they have utility trench permits have been issued. And you'll recall this is one of the MSD projects where they're going to be putting in a new relief line so that we don't have backflows into people's homes anymore. Our parks are going to be opening, our playgrounds, I should say. The parks have always been open, but our playgrounds are opening. And I have our Park and Recs director, Beverly Tucker Knight. I'm going to make her a panelist, and she is going to talk to the council a little bit about what it all entails for us to safely open up our playground structures again.
Hi, I apologize. The system knocked me out when I came back on, so I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me.
Yep.
And I apologize, I missed the intro. So yes, we are planning to reopen our playgrounds. So in order to do that, we had to come up with a plan of how we would clean the playgrounds and sanitize them. And we had to submit that to the St. Louis County Health Department, who reviewed it. And they sent back some changes for us. And now we've sent it back to them again. And we hope as soon as we get the approval for them that we will be able to open. We're targeting the first week of October. We don't have a specific date yet, but that's what we're hoping. But in order to open the playgrounds, we are cleaning them because they are dirty because no one's played on them since March. So we have to clean off all the pollen and the leaves and the bird droppings and all of that. And we are also putting in new FIBAR. FIBAR are the wood chips that are under the playgrounds that are they're a cushion to keep people from getting hurt when they fall off the playgrounds. So we've refreshed already Stacy Park and Villa Park. I'm sorry, Stacy Park and Indian Meadows Park, and we'll be moving on to Villa and Irvside next. So if you live near those parks, you may see some giant mounds of wood chips that will be moving out into those parks. And then once the parks reopen, we will be sanitizing them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And what that means is that we will be disinfecting them completely from top to bottom, spraying a solution of bleach. And while the crews are doing that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the playgrounds themselves will be closed until they dry. We have to make sure it all dries off. We have to spray the bleach. We let it sit on for a specific amount of time, and then we have to rinse it. So we don't want the bleach to stay on there. And we're really hoping that that will be smooth operation. In order to open, we also have to post rules. And this is an example of two signs. The first one, playgrounds open, they show when we're sanitizing. They show that everyone needs to wear masks when they're out there, and family groups need to keep 6 feet distance apart. If you're playing on the playgrounds and you are a child, not a grown-up, you don't have to wear your face mask while you're on there. And we also ask everyone to please wash your hands before and after you play on the playground. And please don't use the playground if you don't feel good or if you've been sick over the last 2 weeks. We really ask you to wait until you feel better to play on there. And we also have another more detailed sign that shares some more details with parents about what's going on there and what they should be doing. And we encourage you, if you're out there on the playground and you notice something, maybe you notice a bird dropping, maybe you just think there's a lot of handprints there, please go ahead and clean it yourself. You are welcome to use your own sanitizing wipes, or whatever you have with you if you'd like to do that, because we have a very small crew of people that work in our parks, so they can't get to all the parks every day. So that's why we have that set schedule on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you are more than welcome to clean something before you use it. So does anyone have any questions about that?
Does anybody have any questions for Beverly? I have one.
Yes.
I do not.
Okay. With regard to the children not having to wear face masks, do we have an age limit on that?
I've asked the county for more specific guidelines. We currently have, we have the mask guidelines from the county, and they say on here, everyone over the age of 5 who's medically able to do so must wear a face covering. So
Okay.
I would assume that that'll be the same for the playgrounds. So that's a good point. We can put that on there. But again, if you're actively playing on the playground, you do not need to wear the mask.
Okay. There's so much inconsistency about kids' ages.
There is, and it's,
A lot of inconsistency.
yeah, and everyone's signs look slightly different around the county, and everyone's cleaning them slightly differently. We are rinsing the bleach off our playgrounds because we called our playground manufacturers to make sure that what we were doing with the bleach wasn't going to damage the plastic. And they're the ones who sent us their guidelines they'd worked out with the CDC. So we leave the bleach on for a specific amount of time and then we rinse it off. Otherwise, we will degrade the plastic or fade it over time.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you, Beverly.
Thanks, Bev.
Great, thank you.
On other updates, I today had my first meeting on the Municipal League of Metro St. Louis on their the League Legislative Affairs Committee, and we'll have about 3 meetings, I think, in all, and they'll look to develop what their priorities will be for the upcoming legislative session. It's the first time I've been asked to sit on this committee. I think it might be because of the current board chair. Mayor Springer, and so I appreciate that. So it was an interesting discussion, and we'll have several more. The Planning and Community Design Commission continues to review and discuss topics concerning urban farming. I think we'll probably have something back to the council maybe late in October. Probably not everything, but some things. And I am going to ask everyone to please review your monthly department reports that are linked in the agenda. And big news, as always, this time of year is the Olivet Turkey Trot. Registration is open. We're going all virtual this year. Very exciting. This is a first for us, as it is probably for many of you participants out there. It's really simple. You register just like you normally would. But instead of having to show up at Stacy Park at 8 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning, you can actually do your run, your walk, or your bike ride. That's new. Anytime after November 1st, and all really through the month, I think kind of the month of November, we'll say. And we've got a great looking T-shirt this year. I really love the purple. And we have neck gaiters this year. So of course you can choose which of these things you want, and then we will then you'll be good to go with the race. You'll pick up. We will have a registration pickup. It'll be a little bit different. Whether depending, we may be outside just handing people bags as they come through. And so that's the exciting news for the Turkey Trot. So go on to olivetmo.com and you can register there. We have a coffee with the mayor on next week. The mayor's guest is Wesley Bell, who is the St. Louis County prosecuting attorney. And I believe our communications manager, Kiana Fleming, has been sending out notices via email and Facebook so that if people have specific questions for Mr. Bell, they can send them in and the mayor will take those, and that way we can make sure people's questions get answered without running out of time. The Planning Commission meets October 1st at 7 p.m. The next city council work session is October 6th at 7 p.m. Our community-wide garage sale is October 10th and 11th. That's a Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on both days. You can register online with that. Just again, go to the Olivet website and you'll be able to find where you can register. If you have any issues, you can call up to the community center. Our first regular meeting in October of the City Council will be October 13th at 7 p.m. And then Planning Commission is October 15th and the Park and Recreation Commission is October 21st. And just so people can see here, we have our next drive-in movie is on October 17th. We're going to do a lot of kind of fun things in lieu of our, what would be our normal Boo Bash. So this is a drive-in movie. You'll get to come. We're going to have people in we hope people will come in costume, you know, decorate your cars, really have fun with this. And then the movie is as appropriately the Goonies. So we're really excited about this. And I believe registration is open for that now as well. Yes, it is, Beverly says. And with that, I will answer any questions that the council might have.
Does anybody have any questions for the city manager? No one? Okay, thank you, Barb. Next item.
Item number 4, city council reports.
I will start with Councilmember Carl.
Well, that's what I get for being the top square, I guess. I did not attend any official committee meetings in the last 2 weeks. I did sit in as a participant as Coffee with a Cop, and I just wanted to comment on that. I thought it was a very good forum. My only wish is that we had larger attendance, but I thought they conducted it very, very well. So
I saw your email to the chief, so that was very nice that you gave him feedback. That was great. Councilmember Waldman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of September 17th, of which Mr. Trejo the next day does diligently provide the summary of what happens to every council member. So I won't go into great detail. City Manager Sondag noted that they are in the discussions with regard to the urban farming, and they will continue discussing the specifics of landscaping, farming, and gardening. And when they asked what did council want, I did indicate that the council would like to see everything back by the end of October, and they will do their due diligence and attempt to achieve that. As Ms. Sondag noted, some things may come back in early November. So thank you much. That is my report.
Thank you. Chairman Pro Tem Clark.
I did not attend any meetings. I have nothing to report at this time.
Okay. And I attended the park meeting this afternoon, but I think you got most of the highlights from the city manager. It's a long meeting and there's a lot of discussion about all kinds of stuff, but it is, I think you got the highlights. So, and that is it. Any questions for each other? All right, hearing none. Next item, please.
Item number 5, monthly financial report, August 2020.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Oops.
We have in front of us, let's see what I can show you guys. Okay. So we have in front of us 2 months of our year, which is puts us at the end of August, and our revenues still remain lower than we thought, at around 56,600 lower, and then expenditures still remain higher at 188,000 higher than we had thought. The net unfavorable variance there is obviously incorrect because it matches the expenditure variance, and so it's that comes out to $132,000 unfavorable variance. And with that, we're seeing a couple things. The dashboard kind of tells us a little bit of some things here or there. It's still early in the year to try to make heads or tails of it. I would say, the stormwater parks fire operations, they're 14%. We'd expect them, maybe a little bit higher. Those are that's the sales tax side of things. Utility taxes still kind of struggling a little bit. The expenditure variances we talked a little bit about last month, and I thought they would kind of dissipate out a little bit as since July was a 3 paycheck month on a biweekly payroll. They're not. They're hanging out a little bit more. We'll know more information next month about what that looks like, or what that would look like as we project that toward the end of the year, and how it happens. Everything. It's not a mistake on. It's a mistake on the budgeting side. It's not a mistake on any input or what I had asked. We had asked everyone to approve, but again, we'll pay attention to that, and I'll know more next month. Our reserve policy is showing still strong compliance as we go to that the next page there at $2.5 million, which is that very bottom right green number, $2.5 million in compliance. Sales tax sharing remained a little higher. We talked quite a bit about that last month. Is at 42% for August, which is down about 10% from the last month. Property taxes are now slightly lower than expectations, slightly above where we thought they would be, and that's because of the Elmwood fire payment from the county did come in. We expected it in July, came in August, and so now everything looking fine there. Utility tax collections are slightly lower than we thought, even on lower expectations. Again, something we've talked about over and over and over. Those remaining categories, which is everything besides the sales tax, property tax, utility tax, they're still underperforming. Court and Parks and Recreation, as we probably guess, since they do have more in-person interactions they're the largest percent decrease from where we thought, just because of restrictions there. The permit income does remain strong, and then everything else is hanging in there a little bit. We talked about the expenditures, where they are. I'll know more next month what's driving those expenditures, those variances, I should say, they're higher than we thought. I will go to the next page. That's the beginning of the chart of the month, one of the three, and we can see what our sales taxes are doing, and this does include September sales tax. We do know the amounts when I prepare these reports, and you can see something very interesting is going to be showing up for September. I had to redo the scales on what this means. I think more than anything, it shows countywide the sharing went down again. So countywide, the sales picked up, and sales have been pretty good in all of it as well. I guess I should say it's the bright orange one that doesn't really, the line that doesn't complete is right there. August, the month we're talking about, is right where the bend is, right where that kind of curve, the parabolic blue line meets. Yeah, it's right in there. And so that's for August. That's what we're talking about for what we're today. So what we'll talk about next month is how we've probably been beating on sales tax projections, and there's been some miraculous mistake in our personnel reporting, not the budgeting itself. We'll see what that means, but that's where we're going to be at there. I did include this middle chart here it's kind of small, but it's a chart that I didn't get to include. I guess it is included somewhat in the tax rate setting. What this shows is our tax rates in the green bars over time, and the assessed valuations in blue in that background. And what I do these to show the inverse nature of property tax, or the assessments versus the tax rate. But I included this one here today because this top blue line that's above all the greens, that is our peak valuation in 2006. So we are 14 years past this and still not at our peak valuation. Now, you would stand to reason that, sure, those are higher. Our tax rates would have been higher, or probably lower then too, right? But they weren't. They were exactly where we're going to be setting them today. And so that kind of puts a little bit of paints a revenue picture for where cities, and at least in this region have been over the last 10 or 15 years since the last kind of recession. This was pre-recession even there. So that's something, some little bit of food for thought, and with that we'll probably talk a little bit more. The next one is show some more, a little bit of the reason we've been missing on our utility taxes. Strangely enough, and I don't know who would ever put these kinds of things together, but I can predict pretty closely what the revenue is going to be based on the temperature. And I can only do it for about a month and a half out, so it's not like it's some great thing. But the blue dots that we see on this chart are the last year. Now you can see there that those are much below the dashed orange line. And strangely enough, there is some rhyme and reason to 70 degrees. The bottom is the temperature, average temperature, and then the revenues on the charted on the left. That 70 degrees, if it's 70 degrees in September, in the fall, we keep our air conditioners on a lot longer. If it's 70 degrees in the wintertime, we don't turn our air conditioners on. And so that the split right there isn't actually that much of a standard deviation at all. It's very predictable. It's just hard to graph in these kinds of things like this. So you can see that the blue belly there in that dashed line might be a little artificial just because there's not much data for it to kind of create that line. But you can see that those were much lower than what we had thought. And that's because the rates have been lower. The rates have been lower and the collections have, I would assume that the usage maybe is a little bit lower, maybe too. But that sheds a little light on why are we continually missing on these utility tax collections when it just doesn't stand to reason. But there is the data to prove that they're kind of outliers in this 10. I think there's 10 years worth of data here. So anyway, that's that. Food for thought. Take it for what it's worth. I can also do it. Strangely enough, Ameren is a pretty. It's a lot higher than the other revenue sources when we talk about this style, which utility tax between electricity, natural gas, and water. Natural gas is actually, believe it or not, a lot tighter. It's closer. All these things bundle up, and water is also a weird usage too. If it's hot if it's 70 degrees in September, we take a shower. If it's not, we don't use as much water, and we probably water our yards a little bit too in that late fall. Anyway, moving on from there, I don't really have much in there. A lot of this stuff is just for comparative purposes. You can see here, though, actually in this report, I'll stop. If we go down to the expenditures, in there, this is where the tip-off of where these variances are coming from. You see the negative 188,000. It's in that far right column, the lighter blue, about 3 numbers from the bottom. And then if we go up just a hair there, you can see that the personnel expenses are what's causing the majority of that variance of the 132,000. Our other costs have slowed or actually under budget. It's that those personnel costs are pulling on that. If you're so curious, you can go down to the very end. You can see all the departments with all the different personnel costs that are broken down in there. You'll find out that it's just the salaries line item and then the associated payroll costs. So nothing out of whack. It just seems maybe like the budgeting's a little strange. Oh, I'll know more in the next month. With that, we'll go down. You can go down to through the capital improvement fund, through the stormwater parks fund, and then those remainder funds. I don't have any commentary on them themselves, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to look into it or try to provide some sort of commentary on it.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Mann? I think,
Oh, man.
I just think it's going to be interesting now as we're going to get to the ordinance down the way about the CARES Act funding. So how does that affect us? But that's a conversation for another point in time, but it'll be interesting. Anybody? No questions for Mr. Mann? Okay, we're going to move on to the next item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, hearing from citizens.
Okay, so let me explain for any of the kids that are still here, maybe, I hope, what hearing from citizens is. This is an opportunity for citizens who are listening to this meeting to speak to us about whatever they want to talk to us about. If they have a problem, they can share their problem with us. If they have a comment, they can share their comment with us. It is their opportunity to address the council and tell us what's on their mind. So with that, if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the council, that includes our third grade citizens as well, I would welcome the opportunity to have you raise your hand and we will unmute you and then you can tell us whatever it is you want to say to us. So, all right.
You have a question, Mayor, under chat.
I have a question under chat. All right, I did see Sophia and Talia are joining. Will we be able to trick or treat this year? Very good question. That's a great question. Barb.
Well, the police chief and I have been having these conversations about trick or treating, and we've been kind of hoping that the St. Louis County would give us a little direction, but at this point it's probably a little bit early for them to tell us. But we've been talking about, well, how can we do it safely? How can we do it safely? And really, you know, we've been kind of thinking about, well, what could keep us safe during COVID? Well, one is we'd wear a mask, right? The other thing would be we'd probably just go with our family. We wouldn't go in big groups. But then we were thinking, well, what about if you're at people's doors? And then I was thinking, well, maybe people would just, if it's a nice night like it's been, wouldn't it be great if people could just sit outside? And then you wouldn't really, we'd have these interactions outside. So at this point, we don't really know, but we really are hoping and we're working to figure out how we can do it safely because everybody likes Halloween.
Well, what we plan to do, at least me and my wife, we have a outdoor fire pit.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to sit in the driveway, burn our fire pit. We've got some lounge chairs, you know, the camping chairs. And we also have a inflatable big screen TV. And it's got a projector that shoots onto a huge screen. And we're going to play Halloween cartoons and watch Halloween cartoons and have a big, massive bowl of candy. And as you come by, you can either watch the movie with us or just grab some candy and keep going.
Wow, we're coming to your house, man.
So I was going to say, we're all going
We're
to
all going to your house.
Chairman Pro Tem Clark's house.
We won't be giving out your address, but we are going to your house.
All right, come
So
on.
that's kind of the thing that what Chairman Clark said is really, that's really what we're hoping people will think about doing, because we can still do it. Maybe it'll look a little bit different this year.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for the council? Don't be shy.
I bet these guys know how to raise their hand too. They're probably all Zoom experts.
Yeah, I bet you guys all are Zoom experts. Probably teach us a few things.
I was a little afraid they'd take over the screen.
No other questions? I hope you guys have really enjoyed this meeting. It's really just getting started. This is where we're going to start. From this point on is where we really get into the legislative part of the meeting, that we actually do the work of legislators. Another question. Do you want to speak to the group? We can unmute.
I've just unmuted.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for inviting us. I'm a mom here in the area, and I was just wondering if you guys have any plans for changing any of the traffic patterns with all the new developments and all of the increased traffic that's probably going to be on Olive Boulevard, especially just at the left turn lights is what I'm most concerned about. That seems to be a little bit tricky sometimes as far as traffic flow, and I think it's going to get a lot worse coming up when everything's open.
Well, I can answer that, Mayor, if you'd
Okay, go
like. That's one of the reasons we were happy to get Dealman Road done while we are now, because we'll have that done ahead of time and it'll be a safer road. We are looking, and we actually, the planning director and the public works director and I met with a traffic engineer today, and we kind of talked about traffic in Olivet and different areas of Olivet, and tried to really kind of get a sense from them of what might be some options for us. One of the problems that we have here is there just aren't a lot of north, south, east, west, main drags, or we have just a lot of dead ends. So part of what we're looking at is what can be done now, but we're also looking at what possibilities might be in the future for us as well. Every time when we do different developments, we look and we've tried to figure out, well, where can we get maybe a little bit more access or some cross cuts. So we are looking at those things. It may not be necessarily, a change in some of the flow. It may be in just some of the infrastructure. How do you slow cars down? How do you make people aware of other routes? But we've created our problem here with having just so many dead ends.
I hope that answered your question.
I'd like to add something if I could, and that is that we do have a traffic study. I believe it is on the website.
Yep. You do?
Its goal is to reduce the amount of curb cuts on the Olive. But again, you can't just put down the street and change all those things. We need to wait for somebody who owns the property to want to do something with it. Basically.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to?
There was another question about how long the work on Dealman will take. And
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, we anticipate we're not going to finish it in this year. Well, our goal is to get the bridge work done and get that widened. We'll get that widening, the section that we're widening kind of south of the bridge. We'll get that done. We'll get that buttoned up. We'll get the bridge done, and then they will probably button up for winter. But the road should be open. We don't. The goal is that we won't have any barricades up, so that it'll be in a place where we can use it over the winter, and then come the spring, we'll finish up what the parts that are left. So we anticipate it going until probably the start of summer next year. And some of that's contingent on how early we can start in the spring.
There was another question about traffic on Price. Once a new development is built, how are we going to handle the traffic on Price?
Well, part of what we do when we do a development like that is they do a lot of traffic studies. And we do a lot and we work with MoDOT. And even though the Missouri Department of Transportation, they're responsible for Olive Boulevard, but they also look at all the streets that feed into Olive. So they look at Price and those types of things. So we've gotten some studies. We're looking at improving the intersection at Price and Olive. There'll be some improvements at Price and Olive. There'll be an extra lane at Olive, which will help traffic move off and on of Price. And then Price Road is also the last major artery that we have in Olivet that is eligible for federal funding. And we have started kind of looking at what that application on Price Road might look like, what kind of improvements we might make. Price Road's probably going to be the most difficult of the improvements. We did improvements on Olive, we were doing Dealman, and Price is going to be the hardest, mainly because there's not, while we have the right of way to work in, there's been a lot of kind of people where there's not sidewalks, people kind of have their grass up to the road. And so how that's all going to look at the end, it's going to be a cooperative effort, that's for sure. But we have also looked at, what other types of things can we do that keep the traffic moving, but not too fast. Because that's one of the concerns that happens sometimes is, particularly like with a road like Dealman, we widen it a little bit to make it a little safer for bicyclists to be on and those types of things. But when you widen the road, sometimes the drivers start driving really fast. And so you want to make sure that when you do these improvements, you're also looking at ways, making sure you have some traffic calming techniques as well.
There is another question from Connor. He wants to know, is there any crime in our area we should watch out for?
I don't believe our police chief is on tonight. Sometimes he's on, but I'm going to tell you what he always tells us. And he always says, we need to lock our cars, we need to lock our doors, and we need to lock our windows. Because a lot of people, they don't go out and just with the idea of, oh, I'm gonna do something bad or be mischievous tonight. They kind of happen upon a car that's unlocked or something like that. And so we don't have a lot of crime in Olivet. We're really lucky. And in fact, if you on our website in the second meetings of each month, so this is the second regular meeting for the council this month, we have department reports, and all of our departments do different reports, and the police do a report, and they'll tell about what kind of crimes we have and how many crimes. And again, the chief will usually say, if we lock our doors and lock our cars, we're really pretty safe here. So that's a great
Also,
question.
make sure you lock your garage doors. There's a lot of people who will leave their homes with the garage doors open, and that's a crime of opportunity waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions? I don't think we've had as many questions.
This is awesome.
Yeah, you're great, third graders. You should come back every time we meet. This is great. All right.
Someone even asked a question that the mayor pro tem usually asks during a meeting. When will this end?
All right, well, we are going to get into the meat of the meeting now. So if you want to see what government is all about, this is what government is all about. This next part is really what it's all about, that we have ordinances. We call them ordinances. They're laws, and we approve them and make them law. So bills come before us and we vote on them, and then they become laws. So, all right. Now I'm going to ask the clerk for the next item.
Item number 7, bill number 2935, an ordinance fixing the annual rate of tax levy for 2020 on all property within the city of Olivet, providing for the extension of said taxes on the books of the collector by the county clerk, and providing for the collection thereof. Second reading and public hearing.
Who is going to do this for me?
Darren.
I will. I will. I think we do need to open for a public hearing. Is that right?
Okay.
Ms. Martin?
I'm going to close regular session. I'm going to open up a public hearing, and Mr. Mann, you are on.
All right. Good evening once again. Everyone laughed. Doggone it. Tax bill number 1 in the history of the city of Olivet is setting the tax rate. If you were to go through history, I think tax rates might be right up there with fire hydrants as far as ordinances. You can spend a lot of time looking through ordinances and come across a lot of fire hydrants, but then you never always know when the next year came, because that's when the tax levy
That was
comes
when the
in.
tax rate.
Yeah, we do. There is a memo attached here. We did have a little bit of lower rates post board of equalization amounts. So after they're done with their process, they release the assessor's office releases the report, and then we did get those, and then so we submit them to the state auditor for compliance purposes. And the rates did go down just a little. They changed just a hair, and I mean like 1,000. So nothing significant from what we talked about last time. There is in the memo there, I do talk about the rate setting process. We went through that at least last year, and I think everyone was here then. and it's not a reassessment year, so I won't go through much of that. We do see I did have a couple charts though that I'll just hit real lightly. We did have a 1% increase in our residential and 1.6% increase, which is good in a non-reassessment year. The residential side, you can see the new construction was at 1.3 million out of the 2.1 million increase in total valuation, and so that's good news. And hopefully, and one of these years we'll see a big commercial new construction come through. But we haven't had one of those in a couple of years. There's a couple of charts we see. I mean, this is really just to show the inverse relationship between rates and assessments. And the residential side does a really good job. The commercial side, which is the next one that we looked at before with the peak rates or the peak valuations in 06. And the reason is inflation of those numbers. You don't get to increase your tax rate to capture inflation. It only goes down if your evaluations are in excess of inflation. So that's why those are relatively flat versus the residential side that holds up pretty good to that rule of inverse tax rates versus assessments. From there, I do have at the very bottom, we can see that the collection needed to meet our budgeted revenue is good. 97 to 99% is about what we would collect in a given year for our of the bills that go out, we collect about 99% of them of the dollars, and so we're in good shape with our budgeting. And this is always a relief to me because I know it doesn't affect a ton of people, but there is some guessing involved with these things, and you can short yourself on the revenue side if you're not careful, and you can also put yourself in a little pickle by over budgeting what's going to be collected. This is all statutory. There's really not a lot of wiggle room inside of these things. So with that, I would only reiterate what I said a couple weeks ago, and that the tax rates did go up, and they went up because of the voter approval of the bond, which, as a matter of fact, closed today. So that is the money is in the bank, and now, unfortunately for everyone, we have to pay it back, and so that begins now. The good news is we got a really low rate, and so it will be significantly cheaper for everyone over the long run. So with that, we're still in a public hearing, so I would I'll end my kind of presentation or any more speaking that I have to do here.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the tax rate?
We have a citizen showing on our screen. Does that citizen wish to speak? Mr. Despotovich? Madam Mayor?
I see that individual. I think he was, the person was hearing from citizens. I don't know if Barb moved him over or didn't move her over. We're back.
I don't see him.
Yeah, I think, I thought they were gone also, but I think they're at the bottom of that gallery view on the right for me. Anyway.
Yeah. That's okay. If they need to, if they would like to speak, Barb can unmute them, but I don't see any hands up, so I am going to, close the regular session, close the public hearing. We're going to move back into regular session. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Mann?
I do not.
I do not.
Missy, you do not? Okay. I do not either, Mr. Mann. I think you've pretty much summed up how it all works and why we are actually paying slightly more this year for the bonds that we approved in June, which we are very thankful for, that the residents approved those, and thankful that we got a great rate, and thankful today that we've got the money. We're very thankful for all those things. So with that, if there are no further comments or questions, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that the council approve Bill 2935, an ordinance fixing the annual rate of tax levy for 2020 on all property within the city of Olivet, providing for the extension of said taxes on the books of the collector by the county clerk and providing for the collection thereof.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Council, do you have any final comments or questions? Hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed. By action of the Olivet City Council, Bill number 2935 becomes ordinance number 2708.
Next item, please.
Item number 8, Bill number 2936, an ordinance requesting that St. Louis County distribute 47 million of CARES Act funds on a per capita basis to the municipalities within the county to be used for eligible expenses, authorizing the city manager of the city of Olivet, Missouri to accept CARES Act funding and execute a municipality relief program funding agreement, and confirming agreement to indemnify and hold harmless St. Louis County from such distribution. First and second reading.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I am asking that this be done as a first and second reading. So that was the first reading. So I am asking if the council might set aside their ordinary rules and hear this, have the bill read for a second time.
Council, I ask for a motion, please.
Madam Mayor, I motion that we set aside our ordinary rules to read this for a second time.
Second.
All right, I need to open up a public hearing on this too. We're moving from regular session into public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the issue of us setting aside our ordinary rules so that we can read this ordinance twice? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, move back into regular session. Council, do you have any comments or questions before I ask for a vote?
Madam Mayor, I do.
Wait, we have to vote on setting
Okay.
aside the ordinary rules.
All right, forgive me. I thought you were asking me otherwise. Okay.
And then let us get to the second reading. Would the clerk please poll the council?
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Would the clerk please read this for the second time?
And Bill number 2936, an ordinance requesting that St. Louis County distribute 47 million of CARES Act funds on a per capita basis to the municipalities within the county to be used for eligible expenses, authorizing the city manager of the city of Olivet, Missouri to accept CARES Act funding and execute a municipality relief program funding agreement, and confirming agreement to indemnify and hold harmless St. Louis County from such distribution.
All right, Ms. Sondag?
Thank you. So as the council is aware, several months back, the county executive actually set aside 47 million of CARES funding that was with earmarked to go to municipalities in St. Louis County. The issue then became, there was discussion between the Municipal League of Metro St. Louis, representing the municipalities, and the county exec on what that distribution would look like and how it would be done. There was then the county executive, and again, if you recall, the county council has given full authority and responsibility of funding of spending the CARES money, the over $170 million of CARES money, has given that responsibility and authority to the county executive, which is why those discussions were occurring at the executive level. there was a decision then made relatively, actually recently, that the county would do it on a per capita rate, and that per capita rate is $68.77. There has been quite a bit of back and forth on some of the questions about what can the monies be spent on that the municipalities get. And there have been the CARES Act itself gives some explanation. The Department of Treasury gives information, kind of some clarifying information, and then there's also additional FAQs that can be given. Now, as you recall, it's the county that is the grantee. They've received the funds from the county, and now they are subgranting them to the cities, to the municipalities. The way they've determined to do it is through an application process, essentially a grant process, in which the cities complete an application along with a lot of additional information. And once that full application is received, and it's due October 2nd, and one of the pieces of information that the county's requesting to make a complete application is an ordinance or a resolution. And in fact, this is the wording that they want, the ordinance before you. And so then we make the application. They will then, with the completed application, they will deposit 50% of the maximum funds per city into the city's bank account, and then we can continue to do applications for, maybe additional needs or programs, and all of the information, then all of the evidence of expenditures, like in any grant, like our SDP grant, we have to provide then to the county. There still is, we've had, today we had our second webinar in which they went over kind of the process and what they were looking for and what backup information they wanted. They will have another, after this one, they will update their FAQs. There will be another one next week, another informational meeting webinar next week. We'll continue to get more information. What we're working on, we know we have expenses of almost, we have expenses of materials we had to purchase, that different things we had to do, of probably almost $100,000 at this point, what we're looking at. And then we will have additional payroll expenses that we're anticipating that will meet that criteria. And again, our job is to look at the criteria, submit what we believe is conforms with the rules, and then the county reviews it. They actually have hired a third party to review it and then make a decision of, again, well, yes, we believe this fits the criteria or not. So at this point, we're continuing to kind of go through our, Darren Mann, finance director, has created the various reports. We're looking through those reports, making sure we have the backup information. Denise Mandel with the Human Resources collecting additional information with regard to payroll and work that was done in association with COVID, in addition to getting some of the backup data. And so we, fully anticipate to have our application completed before October 2nd, just in case there are any concerns or issues. However, we don't want to be too early because, the county's still making some decisions about the process itself and giving out additional information and guidance on this. So we'll be, busy as we work through the next, this week and into next week to make sure we have the application. But again, just remember, this is for expenses that go through from March to December 31st of 2020. So it's not anticipated that we'll have everything spent at this point, but that we will have our plan. And then I believe it's the middle of January where all the invoices, et cetera, need to be in. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. The reason, obviously, we're asking for a first and second reading is so that we meet the October 2nd deadline.
Before I open this up for questions, I think I want to add one or two things. I think what's important to remember in this is that the county has said in the meetings that I've sat in and listened to, as well as the ones that Barb has, that they will be the final arbiters of information, of the data that we supply to them, that we submit, that whether they be invoices, payroll expenses, whatever it may be, they're hiring that third party and they will decide whether that is an eligible expense or not. They're the final arbiters of that. We are not that. And if they say it's an eligible expense, it's an eligible expense. If they say it's not, then it is not. So they're setting themselves up. They're setting the rules, basically. Then they've set it up so that they can administer the rules.
And if I may add one, when you're done, Mayor, if I can add one other thing.
Go ahead.
There is that, you could call a clawback, or you could call the indemnification, I'm sorry. The indemnification, that is actually, this is confirming an agreement to indemnify, but the funding agreement, when we actually have a written funding agreement, Paul, that's where I think the actual language for the indemnification will come in.
Yeah.
It'll be that funding agreement.
We've asked for that funding agreement in advance, but I think they are still working on it, and that's why we don't have that yet. So we won't see it until after we've applied, probably. So, all right, Council, if you have any questions, please let me know.
I have a question. So we have a third-party group ruling on whether or not the expense is eligible.
Correct.
This indemnification, then, that doesn't, however, prevent us from being subject to the indemnification. So I guess that means that if the third party makes a mistake and declares an expense eligible that shouldn't have been, and someone later discovers it, that is what we need to return?
Well,
that's why we have an attorney.
right.
I'd say theoretically that's true, but the chance of that being caught at a later date seems to me to be extremely small. And as I've said before, I don't have a legal issue with this because it's not a true indemnification where you are involving a private party. It's government, and it's government money. So I think it's distinguishable from my usual bad feelings about indemnification. So I'm not concerned.
Right. I just really want to try to understand when we would need to indemnify if I had that right. So I guess it's.
Well, we're going to indemnify, probably, as Barb said, in the next agreement. That's when the indemnification is coming. That's when it'll.
I just meant when we would actually have to return money, and that would be only in the case that we got an approval and then sometime later, and apparently this board would have approved that kind of expense for every city. So technically every city would owe that money back, you would think.
Right. But
I just make sure I understand this process. That's all.
Yep.
And I feel I do at this point.
You have it, to the best of our knowledge, as it sits right now, you have an understanding, yes.
Right.
I'm affirming your understanding.
And that's the best of our knowledge too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and here's again, I'm going to take the legal advice of the attorney because we're always going to follow legal. And if he's okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Again, I wasn't trying to say I had a problem, just
I
that.
know,
Understand.
right. But if the attorney's okay, I'm okay. Anybody else?
I do. First, I want to say, as the president of the Municipal League, I do appreciate your ear and your colleagues pushing the best formula that they came up with. So that's appreciated.
Thank you.
A couple questions. On that call, they talked about optimizing the federal dollars, maximizing those federal dollars. And FEMA typically is a match of 75%. I realize that you were just beginning to put this together, but I have all the faith in the world that Mr. Mann is always ahead of the game. So I'm just asking whether there's anything that we would be looking at, and I'm not asking for an answer now, but I would respectfully expect an answer futuristically if you have the answer, whether we have anything that we would be putting in and optimizing FEMA funds on as we address what we feel should be paid to us. That's one question. I
Do you
don't
want me
know
to
if it's
answer
be
that one, or
answered
do you
now.
want to? Yeah, I can answer it now.
Or go ahead if you can, Barb. Go
At
ahead,
this
Barb, if
point,
you
we
can.
don't have any applications into FEMA with this matching, and I'm happy about that, because under the Stanford Act, when you look at those applications, it states that the 25% may not be covered by other federal funds, including CARES Act grants. Whereas what we were being told by the county is that it could be,
Right.
that this funding can be. So we don't have any, I don't anticipate us using any FEMA funds. I anticipate us only utilizing the county funds, and not, because one of the things is I'm not sure.
Okay. So I went through the FAQs that they came out with today, and I'm not seeing an answer to that question. And clearly you brought up what is the oxymoron of what they said last week. So would the city be willing to follow that up as an FAQ to the county for clarification?
I can, but I don't, I kind of, for knowledge, but I don't anticipate the city applying for any FEMA funds.
I am not asking it for anything other than knowledge. Knowledge is gold, and maybe it's someone else can be more familiar with it as an FAQ as well. So I understand what you're saying, that you have nothing that we will be dealing with, but I think it is a knowledge question, particularly when they stressed the FEMA and maximizing. At the very end of the application, Ms. Sondag, they said that there's a question, the yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Will you use up all your funds, yes or no? And then there's the other 4 parts of the agreement. You sign it, you date it, and that's marked complete. Our full amount of funding, according to the list that was received, is about $500-something thousand. Our 50% would be about $280,000 at this point. Just a little carefully on that yes or no, will you use up all of your funds? When you get to that part of that application, I don't know. Like you say, this is going to go till the end of December, and we don't know some funds that we're going to be using yet. So will we mark that question yes? Or will we mark that question no, and will you use up all your funds?
I would anticipate marking it yes at this point, but again, until we get to that point, I can't say with any certainty, but I would assume I would be saying yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Those were my 2 questions. Thank you much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that the council approve Bill 2936, an ordinance requesting that St. Louis County distribute $47 million of CARES Act funds on a per capita basis to the municipalities within the county to be used for eligible expenses. authorizing the city manager of the city of Olivet, Missouri to accept CARES Act funding and execute a municipality relief program funding agreement, and confirming agreement to indemnify and hold harmless St. Louis County from such distribution.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Moved and seconded. Before we vote, council, I do want to thank Pat Kelly for his work on this. Pat has been absolutely, he has been so dedicated to getting this done. And as some may know from the article that I wrote for the newsletter, you know, they had asked District 5 to sit on a special committee to look at various ways to create new formulas for the distribution. If I showed you how many formula, and I was on the committee and I was doing a lot of the formula work, if I showed you how many formulas I have in my computer for how many different ways we thought of to slice and dice that money. And at the end of the day, what we found was we kept coming back to being super close to where the per capita was. And it really was because of Pat Kelly and his diligence that he asked the county to set aside this money for the municipalities, but more importantly, that he continued to have conversations with the county executive and to impress upon him how important this was and why this should be done this way. It really was Pat that really drove the bus. And for that, we should all be really grateful. And he continues every day to try to, you know, hone this and make this a better process and try to really get the answers for everybody that everybody wants and everybody needs. So for that, I'm appreciative, and I appreciate Councilmember Waldman, what you said, but I honestly cannot take credit for something that somebody else really drove the bus on, and he did an amazing, amazing job. So, but thank you.
Noted. So noted. Thank you.
And with that, I will ask the clerk to please call a roll.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed. By action of the Olivet City Council, Bill number 2935 becomes ordinance number 2709.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 9, Bill number 2937, an ordinance ratifying and affirming ordinance number 2703's approval of a petition for the creation of a community improvement district and establishment of the Olivet Gateway Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri. First reading.
Okay, thank you. We do have the developer on as well. I can, oh, where am I at? I can bring him over if you like. And, okay. This is basically, as it says, what happened. The public notices of the public hearing for the formation of the SID. The second notice was published by the county, and on the day after it had been requested. In reality, according to our attorneys, Gilmore and Bell, they were not concerned about this. We did it. We had the statement that the county would publish it, and they missed it by a day. People had really about 30 days in which they could contest this. Nobody did. However, Greg Yowitz, his attorney, really felt like since we had the time, that we should just kind of go back and let's just tie up any loose ends so that nothing can come back later. And that's really what we're doing here tonight, is we're asking you just to ratify and affirm the ordinance 2703. that was adopted on June 9th. And I don't know, Greg, if you have anything else to add?
I think you summed it up. The issue is I prefer to have things absolutely right. And since this error was no fault of the city's or ours, the county end just missed. And I saw the email chain from them that they apologized and wish they hadn't made the error. But in order to perfect the SID and the political subdivision, it was the advice of my attorney and my SID consultants that it would be best to do it right by republishing all the notices again, which I received a certification of, I think yesterday, that those were done properly this time. And as a result, instead of rushing, I'd rather do it right. So that's what's in front of you. So happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Greg? And this is a first reading, and we're only doing a first reading tonight. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Yawitz? No?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Yawitz, do you think you'll come back again at the next time for us, in case we do?
I should be able to. Is that the next council meeting on
The
I believe.
13th.
on my wife's birthday? I will do my best to
Oh,
be
no.
on Zoom, depending on what time
Real
dinner
risky
finishes.
right there. That's very,
Yeah, right. That's
very
risky business, man. And we're not talking the Tom Cruise kind. No. That's no good. We'll make,
Mr. Yawitz, I don't need you, so I'll just let you know now. Go and
Yeah.
have a great time with your wife.
Barb will answer the questions for us. We're all good. So thank you, though, for offering. Are there any questions for Mr. Yawitz? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay, great.
And
I
Thank you.
think that's her 4th birthday this year, though, isn't it? Though.
Yeah, I was
another
thinking the
meeting
exact
that-
same thing. Wow. She's got to be 100 by now.
I will not tell her you said that.
That's risky business too.
That's not the Tom Cruise kind either.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Greg, I'm going to move you back to an attendee. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Next item.
Item number 10, hearing from citizens, part 2.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say all the third graders have left. And we are here more or less with Mr. Yawitz and Mr. Trejo.
Carlos now.
Yep, that's it. And I know neither one of you have anything to say to us. So we're just going to move on then. Thank you. Next item.
Item number 11, review and approval of minutes.
Council, did you see anything that needs to be amended?
I did not.
I did not either. Anybody else?
No, ma'am.
All righty. I will entertain a motion then.
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept the council meeting minutes of September 8th, 2020 as written.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any last comments or questions? Hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
Next item.
Item number 12, city attorney's report.
Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report, but would request a closed session for attorney-client communications and contract discussions pursuant to 610.021.1 and 12 of the revised statutes of Missouri.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
All righty. The council has come out of closed session. There are no reportable decisions. Ms. Sondag, did you want to show us the?
I couldn't find them earlier to get them. I thought I had them and I didn't. I wanted to show the most recent elevations. And mainly because if I don't show them today, then I lose a couple weeks with you guys. And I meant to have them in the report, but I didn't have them. Hold on one second.
Is this what they showed this afternoon?
Pardon me?
Is this what they showed this afternoon?
Not, it's the, not the park, because I don't have those. But the elevation, yes, but
Right.
yes,
Community
right.
center, right.
Okay, hold on one second. And let me, all right. So this is the, I think this has not changed for you folks. This is the entryway in. And then this is the down here, kind of that other side where you see the indoor play area, the fitness rooms, and then this. Now this one, they redid. Why is it blue?
That's weird.
Hold on. Let me just
Wait, click your mouse. Oh,
yeah, let me reopen it. All right. Do you see that now? Do you see the rear?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of one. And what they're suggesting is that they come up higher with this stone, the CMU. They put in doors with windows here. And
what
then
is that? What is that there, Barb? Where the windows would be?
this is the
What is
back
that area?
area. This is the gym.
Okay.
The door into door into storage of the gym,
Okay,
door
okay.
into maintenance, to the
Okay,
kitchen,
thanks. Okay,
and the back of the community rooms.
okay.
So basically what they're suggesting, so that's kind of how they're suggesting to, if you recall, we've gone through a couple of iterations. We had some green here, and what they decided was to make it up. You can't, I don't know, let me try to go in a little more just to show you. They did do the vertical and the horizontal on the,
I think they did a really nice job of breaking that up.
thing. So, so I wanted to show it to you. This is kind of what we're going to be getting cost estimates on. But that doesn't mean that it's the done deal yet. That's just what we're getting cost estimates on. So I really would like for you folks to think about, do you like it? You know, do you like the metal? Do you like the CMU? Do you like, do you like it? Because we will, once we get the estimates, then we'll probably have to look and they're kind of, at this point, Navigate's thinking that we're actually kind of okay cost-wise on the outside. We probably will need to make changes on the inside. I mean, our budget's going to be super tight. But
Barb, will you scroll down those other two? Yeah, this one, and what is the one that's right above it?
this is looking
above it?
great.
Was this the old version? Was that the old version? The
No,
last? Okay.
this is the most recent. The last,
Can you scroll down though, Barb? I want to make sure yeah, they're the same. It's just the color is different. When you see it from one angle to the other, the color of the CMU looks different. It looks
this
cream.
is, and that's
Yeah,
because of
right.
how these are used. This is just a drawing and then they kind of put it on here and it's always brighter when they insert it
Okay.
with these colors.
Okay.
Now, I've always
this is-
assumed,
okay.
these are actually the colors.
Oh,
Okay,
good, because that
okay.
green is not attractive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
What
green
did you
is
say,
not pretty.
Ruth?
That green is not pretty.
So-
This is the
Right,
green
right.
is fine.
Yeah.
So I will
Yeah.
just note that on drawing elevations, that this is a perspective view. You see it's from an angle. It may even be rendered, which means the computer took a lot of time to try to produce a photo quality representation. I don't know if it was rendered or not, but that may be different, where the one above is really more for, they put some color on what amounts to typically a flat black and white line drawn plan sheet, right? Is the elevation. You can see the dividers that are part of the plans in there. They really are coming probably from two different pieces of
Yeah.
Okay.
parts of
Okay.
this.
Okay. 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 Well, you know, I think it looks less institutional, so I'm very happy with the changes. I mean, clearly, it doesn't look as institutional as I've been saying for the last couple of sessions of looking at this. So I agree that I think they've done a good job. I at the end will again want the clarity of the material. Excuse me, of the stone material. I'm sorry, the stone material.
Well, I just wanted to make sure I got the latest to you folks. Just again, because we're moving, it moves kind of quickly. Well, it moves really slowly and then it moves quickly and then it moves really slowly. We did go over some of the park, the Warson Park layout, the site layout, Paul, so we will have some conceptual for that within the next week or two. We'll have some finals on that, I think, or some closer to finals to get to schematic. And then the footprint of the existing community center is really close in size to the new community center.
Oh, really?
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to measure them today a little bit, and I think they're pretty darn close. The height's different and that kind of thing, but that's all I got.
That's about 10,000. That's about 10,000 square feet on the inside, if I recall the square footage of the current community center. Yes.
Current community square footage, wasn't it like 26?
Yeah.
Inside.
Uh-huh.
I'm just talking about this. Okay. Okay. I think I may have only been thinking of counting the room sizes. Luke gave me the 10. I think that's what my brain.
In fact, the old city hall's probably a little bit, old city center's probably a little bit bigger, foot-wise, So anyway, okay.
So we need the motion, right?
Yes.
What motion to adjourn?
Or-
To adjourn?
Yes.
No, to appoint Dawn, right? So we need a motion to.
Oh,
appoint-
yes.
Oh, yeah, we need to do that. Thanks, liaison, keeping on top of your board.
So I'm not quite sure how you want to phrase it, Barb, so I'll let you phrase it and I'll say.
I think you should make a motion that would appoint Don Weber to the Zoning Board of Adjustment with the exact term to be determined after discussions with another board member.
So moved.
Is that, yeah, Paul, what they're looking at is they've got somebody who's been an alternate for a longer time. They're looking at moving the alternate to a permanent or to a regular member and then having this person be the alternate. So,
Yeah, based on that, I think the motion's fine.
okay, thanks.
It was moved and seconded.
I just want to recognize the high praise Paul just gave me for my motion.
Perfect. Anything.
Really, please. Just say any words, put them all together. They'll be great. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
Now I will make the motion for Sydney, move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you,
And-
ladies and gentlemen.